In the world of Naruto, Pain isn't just a powerful enemy, he's a tragic hero whose journey from an idealistic child to a god of destruction is driven by the unbearable weight of loss. Once a boy with a dream of bringing peace to a world torn apart by war, Nagato would eventually become Pain, the man who sought to reshape the world through the very pain that defined his existence. But Pain's story isn't just about vengeance or power. It's about a quest for peace so warped by the suffering he endured that it led him to the most extreme measures. Born in the hidden Rain Village, Nagato's transformation into Pain was inevitable, shaped by the brutality of his environment and the endless cycle of pain that comes with war. His idealism was consumed by the very darkness he tried to fight, until he became the monster he once feared. Today we explore the life of Nagato, the man who would go on to lead the Akatsuki and challenge the very foundation of the Shinobi world. His philosophy that pain is the only true path to peace was tested to the limits, creating a complex, tragic villain who wasn't born evil, but was made through a lifetime of suffering. This isn't a tale of simple battles or mere ambitions. It's the story of a broken soul's attempt to impose his vision of peace, and how those who seek to end pain can become its greatest perpetrators. Early life. Nagato grew up on the outskirts of Megakure, with his parents Fuso and Issei, unaware that Madara had secretly transplanted his Rinnegan into him during his early years. During the Second Shinobi World War, Nagato and his parents sought refuge at home to avoid the ongoing fighting. However, one day, two Konoha ninjas broke into their home looking for food. When Nagato parents tried to sneak away unnoticed, they were discovered. In the ensuing struggle, Nagato parents attacked the ninjas to protect him, but the Konoha ninjas killed them in self-defense. Realizing they had slain innocent civilians, the Konoha ninjas tried to apologize to Nagato, but overcome with grief, Nagato used his Rinnegan for the first time to kill them in revenge. After burying his parents, Nagato was left an orphan, forced to leave his home and wander in search of food and shelter. With resources scarce due to the war, Nagato encountered no one willing to help him until one day he collapsed from hunger and was found by Konan and Yahiko, who were also orphans. The three banded together, scavenged for food, and dreamed of a world where they could eliminate war and bring peace. Yahiko, particularly passionate about this vision, inspired Nagato to adopt the same goal. To achieve their dream, the trio decided they needed to become shinobi. With few options available, they sought out Konoha's legendary Sannin, asking them to teach them ninjutsu. Orochimaru offered to end their suffering by killing them, but Jiraiya, feeling guilty for his participation in the war, offered to teach them how to survive. Jiraiya found them a place to live and taught them basic survival skills, but refused to teach them ninjutsu. One day, while out gathering food, the orphans were confronted by an Iwagakure Chunin. In a desperate act to protect his friends, Nagato used his Rinnegan to kill the Iwanin. When Jiraiya arrived, he noticed Nagato's eyes and recognized the legendary Rinnegan, a powerful tool once possessed by the Sage of Six Paths. This revelation made Jiraiya reconsider, and he agreed to teach Nagato and his friends ninjutsu. Although Nagato felt guilty for taking the life of the Iwanin, Jiraiya helped him understand that sometimes violence and personal sacrifice were necessary to protect others. Jiraiya also believed that Nagato was the Sage of Six Paths' reincarnation, and that he would one day use the Rinnegan to bring peace to the world. Over the next 3 years, Jiraiya trained Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko. Nagato, due to his Rinnegan, easily mastered all of Jiraiya's teachings. Once they could defeat Jiraiya's shadow clones, Jiraiya sent them on their own path, confident that they could bring change to the world. The three orphans then formed the organization Akatsuki under Yahiko's leadership with the aim of ending war. Their message gained widespread support, and Akatsuki's ranks grew, becoming well known across Megakure. During the Third Shinobi World War, they encountered a disguised Obito Uchiha, who introduced himself as Madara. Obito offered them help, intending to teach Nagato how to fully unlock the potential of his Rinnegan, but Yahiko, suspecting that Obito only sought to manipulate them, refused the offer. As Akatsuki's influence grew, Hanzo, the leader of Megakure, saw them as a threat. He approached them, offering to work with Akatsuki to negotiate with other warring villages. However, at a meeting to finalize the arrangement, Yahiko and Nagato were ambushed by Hanzo and his men, with Konan held hostage. Hanzo threatened to kill Konan unless Nagato killed Yahiko. To save Nagato from having that burden on his conscience, Yahiko impaled himself on Nagato kunai, his dying breath urging Nagato to fulfill their dream of bringing change to the world. Enraged by Yahiko's death, Nagato took Konan back from Hanzo, even though his legs were badly damaged in the process. He then summoned the demonic statue of the other path and used it to annihilate Hanzo's men. Although Hanzo escaped, Nagato severed his ties with a Megakuri by slashing the village symbol from his forehead protector. Now crippled, Nagato used Yahiko's body to create the Diva Path and began his journey as Pain. The death of Yahiko had convinced Nagato that his ideals of peace were naive. He realized that the world would never willingly end the cycle of hatred and death, and that only by making others experience pain could they truly desire peace. Embracing this philosophy, Nagato adopted the name Pain and used his Rinnegan to control 6 bodies, each representing a different aspect of power. Pain led Akatsuki, which now became a mercenary group, offering its services to various ninja villages for payment. Years later, Pain and Konan started a civil war within Amagakure to overthrow Hanzo. The villagers, believing Pain to be a god because of his immense power, rallied behind him. Pain's forces eventually cornered and killed Hanzo, though Pain expressed his disgust at how far Hanzo had fallen. To prevent any challenges to his power, Pain eliminated all of Hanzo's remaining allies, ensuring his absolute rule over the village. Although he was now regarded as a god, Pain continued to act with ruthless conviction, crushing any remnants of resistance and solidifying his hold over Amegakure. Bonds that failed. Pain, aware of the potential risks, intensifies his surveillance on Konoha as the Chunin exams proceed. The rumors surrounding Akatsuki's involvement with Sasuke and Orochimaru's influence become more pronounced, raising suspicion among the villagers. Pain, while focusing on keeping a low profile for Akatsuki, knows that any move made in Konoha could tip the balance in their hidden agenda. Meanwhile, Sasuke, now fully entrenched in his alliance with Orochimaru, continues his pursuit of power. His obsession with avenging his clan and defeating Itachi grows stronger. Despite Orochimaru's promise of strength, Sasuke's internal conflict begins to surface as he wrestles with his feelings about the path he's chosen. He distances himself from his former comrades, convinced that his journey must be one he walks alone. Konoha, unaware of the looming threat, continues its preparations for the upcoming exams. Kakashi, determined to protect the village from the possible infiltration of Akatsuki, continues to investigate and track any suspicious activity. He grows increasingly aware that the situation with Sasuke and Orochimaru could escalate into something far more dangerous. As the tension builds between Konoha and the unseen threats, both internal and external, the upcoming clash with Akatsuki becomes inevitable. Pain, watching the situation unfold, knows that the time for subtlety is running out. The fate of the Uchiha, the future of Konoha, and the plans of Akatsuki are all converging toward an explosive conclusion. Kazekage Rescue Mission. After Gaara is captured by Deidara and Sasori, Pain convenes Akatsuki to begin the extraction of the One Tail from Gaara's body. As the extraction process unfolds over the course of 3 days, Konoha's ninja begin to converge on their location. In response, Pain employs his shape-shifting technique to send copies of Kisame, Hoshigaki, and Itachi Uchiha to divert their attention. While the copies are eventually defeated, they successfully buy enough time for the extraction to proceed, and the One Tail is sealed. As the rest of Akatsuki disperses, Pain gives instructions to Deidara and Sasori to handle the Konoha ninja who have arrived outside their lair. Following the captures of the 2 Tails and 3 Tails, Pain again gathers Akatsuki to seal the remaining beasts. During this meeting, Pain summons interrupt a fight that Hidan, the second newest member, was engaged in. Hidan, frustrated, demands an explanation regarding Akatsuki's ultimate goal. Pain, unperturbed, answers by discussing the current state of the world and how Akatsuki plans to capitalize on the growing chaos to seize control. Following Itachi's trail. Before Akatsuki prepares to seal the 4 Tails, Pain informs its members about the deaths of Hidan and Kakuzu, as well as the news that Sasuke Uchiha has killed Orochimaru. Shortly after the 4 Tails is sealed, Zetsu reports that both Deidara and Tobi died in a battle with Sasuke. Pain expresses indifference towards Tobi's death, but urges the remaining members of Akatsuki to mourn Deidara, acknowledging his contribution to the organization. Once the meeting adjourns, Pain and Konan meet with Tobi in Amegakure. Tobi instructs them to go after Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails, in order to capture him for Akatsuki's plans. JIraiya the Gallant. A Shinobi's End. Before setting out to search for Naruto, Pain senses an intruder arriving in Amegakure. Unable to identify the intruder, he senses their immense power. He sends Konan to track them down while he deploys the animal path to intercept. After a short while, Konan reports that the intruder is JIraiya. Surprised, Pain orders her to kill him if she can while he moves the animal path to confront JIraiya. Upon arriving, Pain frees Konan from the restraints JIraiya had placed on her and sends her away. Although JIraiya doesn't recognize the body, he assumes that Pain is Nagato, recognizing his Rinnegan. JIraiya expresses his disappointment that Nagato has turned away from his once righteous path and now leads the criminal organization Akatsuki. Pain, declaring himself a god, explains that his plan to liberate the world through destruction is the definition of righteousness. In response to the animal path summons, JIraiya calls upon Gameiken to hold them off while he prepares himself in his chameleon form. Pain sends a multi-headed dog, a drill-beaked bird, and a giant ox to attack. But JIraiya successfully enters Sage Mode with the help of Shima and Fukasaku. Shima locates and neutralizes the chameleon, forcing Pain to summon the Preta and human paths into the fray. JIraiya blinds the human path and attacks with Sage Art, Gomen, which is absorbed by the Preta path. JIraiya makes several attempts to attack the human and animal paths from behind, but both block him, suspecting their shared vision. JIraiya withdraws as the three paths pursue him. They eventually hear the singing of Shima and Fukasaku as they prepare another jutsu. The paths track them down and try to stop them, but JIraiya is ready. After confirming that the paths share vision, JIraiya distracts the Preta path and immobilizes the human path, allowing him to fight the animal path one-on-one long enough for Shima and Fukasaku to cast Toad Confrontation singing. While the paths are caught, JIraiya stabs them with stone swords and believes they, and by extension, Nagato, are dead. As he leaves, the Asura path attacks him from behind, severing his arms. The full 6 paths of Pain, with the 3 he defeated restored by the Naraka path, confront JIraiya. He recognizes the Diva path as Yahiko, causing him to question whether Pain is truly Nagato. After a prolonged battle, JIraiya retreats into his barrier-toad-gourd prison. The animal path follows him but ends up getting captured. As its last act, it stabs JIraiya with a black receiver. JIraiya contemplates returning to Konoha with the information he's learned, but decides this is his only chance to uncover the secret of Pain. He returns to the battlefield with Fukasaku and draws the remaining paths' attention. In doing so, he figures out the truth. The Asura path crushes his throat before he can tell Fukasaku what he's learned. The other paths stab him, believing him dead. As they leave, JIraiya uses the last of his energy to etch a coded message into Fukasaku's back. The paths try to stop him, but Fukasaku escapes with the message. JIraiya's body sinks into the sea, and Pain holds a moment of silence for his passing. 6 Tails Unleashed. Pain replaces the animal path with a new body and prepares to go after Naruto. In the anime, he is first sent to Kirigakuri, to capture the 6 Tails. The new animal path summons the multi-headed dog to scout the area where the 6 Tails Jinchuriki, Utakata, was last seen. The dog comes across a group of hunter nin, led by Tobi, and quickly slaughters them all. Utakata eventually arrives searching for Tobi, but instead encounters Pain, who swiftly captures him. The 6 Tails is later extracted from Orochimaru's body. Pain's assault on Konoha. Pain and the 6 Paths of Pain arrive on the outskirts of Konoha, eliminating all the border guards. He outlines the plan. The Asura, Animal, and Preta paths will destroy Konoha's infrastructure and draw attention from its ninja, while the human, Diva, and Naraka paths search for Naruto's location. The animal path infiltrates the village alone, making Konoha's censors believe there's only one intruder, and once inside, it summons the others. The Diva path is confronted by Kakashi Hatake, who deduces Pain's strategy. Kakashi is nearly defeated, but he manages to coordinate Konoha's forces to create an opening. The Asura path shields the Diva path, and the latter destroys everything in sight. Kakashi, exhausted, sends Choji Akimichi to the 5th Hokage, but the remaining Asura path attempts to stop him, only to be intercepted by Kakashi's Kamui, sacrificing himself in the process. Meanwhile, the remaining paths of Pain continue their mission. The Preta path finds the animal path's black receivers, and the Diva path confronts the Hokage, demanding Naruto's surrender. After a fierce exchange, the animal path assaults the building where JIraiya's captured prisoner is being held and kills him. The human path discovers Shizune and, after reading her mind, learns Naruto is at Mount Myoboku. Pain's frustration grows as Konoha's ninja begin understanding how the six paths work. Determined to show Konoha true pain, he plans to destroy the village. He summons the others to a safe distance while the Daiva path uses Shinrei Tensei, a large-scale attack that levels the area. As the smoke clears, Naruto arrives with Toad allies, and after a battle, Pain's paths are restored, and Naruto is captured. Shima and Fukasaku attempt to perform a genjutsu, but Pain kills Fukasaku and captures Naruto. He lectures Naruto about the cycle of hatred and questions if there's a better way to bring peace. Just as Pain is about to kill Naruto, Hinata Hyuga intervenes, sacrificing herself to save Naruto. Enraged, Naruto transforms into a more powerful form, forcing Pain to shift dimensions. After a long battle, Nagato, the real leader behind Pain, finally agrees to use his remaining strength to revive everyone killed in the battle. With his life fading, Nagato warns Naruto about the difficult path ahead, but expresses faith in his solution for peace. As Nagato dies, he wonders if the circumstances leading to his death were the work of a true god, leaving Naruto to continue his journey of peace and justice, power and reincarnation. In the anime, Kabuto Yakushi, a brilliant but twisted medical ninja, utilizes the impure world reincarnation technique to bring back Nagato, one of the most powerful figures in the ninja world. His goal is to unleash Nagato's formidable abilities against Team 7, who had previously defeated many of his subordinates. However, upon summoning Nagato, Kabuto quickly realizes that the reincarnation is incomplete. Nagato's body seems to lack full control, and Kabuto wonders if there's something wrong with the ritual. This initial failure raises doubts for Kabuto about his methods, but he remains determined to fulfill his role in the greater war that is on the horizon. As the Fourth Shinobi World War looms, Kabuto, recognizing the magnitude of the conflict, approaches Tobi, the masked figure behind the Akatsuki organization, with an offer. Kabuto proposes an alliance between the two, as both share similar goals: to manipulate the world and gain power. Despite Kabuto's early failure with Nagato, he sees an opportunity to redeem himself and contribute to Tobi's war plans. In exchange for his cooperation, Kabuto agrees to reincarnate several powerful members of Akatsuki to strengthen their forces. Kabuto goes on to perform the impure world reincarnation again, this time successfully bringing back 5 of the most feared and influential Akatsuki members: Nagato, Itachi Uchiha, Sasori, Deidari, and the enigmatic Zetsu. These reincarnated bodies are used by Kabuto as pawns in the ongoing battle against the allied shinobi forces. The idea is to use their unmatched abilities to turn the tide in Tobi's favor during the war, furthering his agenda of capturing the tailed beast and ultimately achieving his goal of reviving the 10 tails and casting the infinite Tsukuyomi. Nagato, though brought back as a lifeless shell controlled by Kabuto, retains some of his memories and ideals, which makes his role even more significant. Kabuto, while exploiting the power of the reincarnated ninja, also uses his intimate knowledge of their abilities to manipulate them to his will. But Kabuto is far from being in complete control. Though he has the power to command them in battle, he soon realizes that the personalities and past relationships of these figures will complicate his attempts to fully control them. Nagato Resurrection is particularly crucial because of his Rinnegan, one of the most coveted dojutsu in the ninja world. This power allows Nagato to control multiple bodies simultaneously, and with his immense chakra reserves, he becomes a formidable weapon for Kabuto. However, Kabuto's own weaknesses and limitations, along with the personalities and emotions that each reincarnated Akatsuki member carries, cause friction within the ranks of their forces, especially as they come into contact with old enemies. Kabuto's initial failure with Nagato reincarnation, followed by his strategic alliance with Tobi, sets the stage for some of the most intense battles in the Fourth Shinobi World War. While Kabuto tries to control the revived members of Akatsuki and manipulate them into aiding Tobi's cause, the reincarnated figures, including Nagato, begin to wrestle with their own sense of purpose, leading to surprising twists in the ongoing conflict. Fourth Shinobi World War Confrontation. When the Fourth Shinobi World War begins, Nagato is mobilized along with Kabuto collection of reincarnated ninjas. Despite being revived, Nagato is still unable to move on his own and is carried by Itachi Uchiha. They discuss Akatsuki, realizing how little they actually knew about the organization. Both were mere pawns controlled by Tobi, who used their dojutsu for his own purposes. Now revived, they are once again being manipulated by Kabuto for the same reason. Nagato can sense Kabuto's control and communicates with Itachi. They are soon confronted by Naruto and Killer Bee. Nagato is glad to see Naruto has gained control over the Nine Tails, but isn't surprised, as they both trained under Jiraiya. Kabuto forces Nagato and Itachi to attack, with the Nagato summoning animals to aid in his movement. Nagato gives Naruto and Bee advice on countering his summons in jutsu, warning them about Itachi's abilities. Itachi, however, is able to break free from Kabuto's control with a failsafe he left on Naruto before his death. Fearing Nagato might also regain his consciousness, Kabuto suppresses Nagato's personality and forces him into battle against the trio. Itachi teams up with Naruto and Bee to fight Nagato. Using his chameleon summon, Nagato hides to move undetected, launching a powerful Shinra Tensei at Bee. Bee counters with a version 2 Lariat, but Nagato absorbs the chakra from the Eight Tails, rejuvenating himself and gaining the ability to move freely. He prepares to kill Bee and extract his soul, but Itachi interrupts with Susanoo, freeing Naruto and Bee from Nagato control. Kabuto, distracted by the fight, commands Nagato to use Chibaku Tensei. Itachi, Naruto, and Bee use their most powerful long-range attacks to destroy the growing planetoid. As Kabuto is preoccupied with its destruction, Itachi strikes him with Susanoo's Sword of Totsuka, freeing Nagato consciousness. Nagato apologizes to Naruto for his actions both in life and death, lamenting that his story was unworthy of following Jiraiya's teachings. He expresses his hope that Naruto's story ends in such a way that no one will remember his own disappointment. Nagato bids farewell as his body is sealed. Tobi's betrayal and confusion. Tobi, or Obito Uchiha, feels personally betrayed by Nagato's final act of selflessness. The man who had once been his loyal pawn, devoted to his Eye of the Moon plan, had chosen to sacrifice himself to revive the villagers of Konoha, instead of furthering the grand plan for peace through the infinite Tsukuyomi. This betrayal is a sharp blow to Tobi, who had relied on Nagato to fulfill the plan. He had always believed that Nagato's firm convictions about bringing peace through domination and control were unwavering, and so he cannot fathom that Nagato would give his life for the people he had once sought to destroy. Tobi, consumed by his own twisted ideals, struggles to understand the change in Nagato's heart. Tobi, bewildered by Nagato's sudden change of heart, seeks out Naruto. He wants to know what Naruto could have said to sway Nagato, believing that Nagato's surrender was impossible and that only someone with the same power could have influenced him. However, Naruto's assertion that Nagato truly desired peace and was just seeking a way to achieve it falls on deaf ears for Tobi, who is unwilling to accept that his own ideals could have been so deeply flawed. Tobi, unable to comprehend Nagato's final decision, is consumed by a sense of betrayal, believing that Nagato should have remained a tool for his cause. Tobi's pursuit of power. Following Nagato's death, Tobi realizes that without Nagato Rinnegan, his plans to dominate the world through the Eye of the Moon are in jeopardy. Nagato's eyes were the key to achieving the ultimate power he needed, and without them, Tobi's ambitions would be hindered. In an attempt to fulfill his ultimate goals, Tobi sets out to find Nagato's corpse and retrieve his Rinnegan. However, when he finds Nagato's lifeless body, he is faced with an unexpected sight. Nagato's corpse is still smiling, as though mocking him even in death. This smile sends a wave of frustration and anger through Tobi, who interprets it as Nagato's final act of defiance, as if even in death, Nagato is continuing to mock him for his failure to fulfill their shared vision. Konan's loyalty to Nagato's legacy. Konan, who had once been a member of Akatsuki and a close ally of Nagato and Yahiko, now faces the consequences of the choices made by her fallen comrades. Nagato's death leaves her broken-hearted, but resolute. Having followed Nagato's change of heart, Konan vows to uphold the ideals that the original Akatsuki had represented, peace through understanding, rather than domination. She decides to distance herself from Tobi and the corrupted Akatsuki that had become nothing more than a tool for his twisted ambitions. Konan's dedication to Nagato's original vision leads her to Omegakure, where she decides to honor the memory of both Nagato and Yahiko. She takes their bodies back to the village, where she creates a secret shrine dedicated to them. She lays their bodies on beds of flowers, a final act of reverence for the men who had both suffered and fought so much for peace. With this, she withdraws from the Akatsuki hoping to forge a new path for herself and the village that once stood for ideals of hope and unity. Konan's Death. Konan's path of resistance, however, is short-lived. Tobi, in his relentless pursuit of power, comes looking for Nagato's Rinnegan. He demands Konan's cooperation in revealing the location of Nagato's body, hoping to complete his plans for world domination. Despite Konan's resistance, she is eventually forced to reveal where Nagato's body is hidden. In a desperate bid to stop Tobi from further corrupting the ideals Nagato had fought for, Konan attempts to kill him. However, Tobi's power proves overwhelming, and she is ultimately killed in her attempt to protect the legacy of Nagato and Yahiko. Her death is a final tragic blow to the ideals that Nagato had once fought for, and to the hope that a better world could be created through unity and understanding. Naruto responds to Nagato legacy. Naruto, deeply affected by his encounter with Nagato, is struck by the profound impact Nagato's story had on him. Despite Nagato's past mistakes and the devastation he caused, Naruto is compelled to try and carry on Nagato's desire for peace. Nagato's tragic past, his journey from idealism to disillusionment, and his final act of redemption through sacrifice resonate deeply with Naruto. He sees Nagato not as an enemy, but as someone who had suffered the same pain, loss, and hatred that he himself had endured. Nagato's actions spark a desire in Naruto to bring about peace in the world, but in a way that does not repeat the cycle of hatred and revenge that plagued Nagato's life. Naruto resolves to end the ongoing cycle of violence that had been perpetuated by the Shinobi world for generations. He wants to create a world where people no longer have to suffer from the mistakes of the past, a world where the cycle of hatred is broken once and for all. Naruto's compassion and his willingness to forgive Nagato for his past mistakes become the defining elements of his journey. He chooses to honor Nagato's sacrifice by following through on his own quest for peace, despite the many obstacles and enemies that still stand in his way. Naruto refuses to let the cycle of hatred continue and commits himself to becoming the Hokage, not through power or dominance, but through understanding and compassion. The end of the cycle. With Nagato's death and the passing of his ideals, the cycle of violence and hatred is left for Naruto to confront. He has learned that true peace cannot be achieved through force or domination, but through understanding and the willingness to forgive. Nagato's story is a tragic one, but it serves as a lesson for Naruto, a lesson about the importance of bonds, the consequences of revenge, and the power of hope. As Naruto continues on his journey to become Hokage, he carries with him the lessons he learned from Nagato. He will not let the mistakes of the past define the future, and he will fight for a world where people can live in peace without the fear of war or hatred. In the end, Naruto's story becomes the antidote to the legacy of pain and suffering that Nagato left behind.